All right, this is Revenue Roadmap, where we talk about driving revenue and increasing profits in local businesses. I'm Anthony Karls, president of RocketClicks. Today I'm with Mr. James Patterson again. Thank you for joining me again, James.
Yep.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about platform selection in the area of paid media. Before we jump into that, I got a question for you here, James. So if you could go back in time at the start of your career and give yourself one piece of advice related to marketing, what would it be and why?
Yeah. Oh, hit me with the tough questions.
Yeah, gotta get you.
Appreciate that, Tony. Right on the spot. Yeah, it's an interesting question. So if I could go back in time, what piece of advice would I give myself from a marketing lens? Honestly, I would probably say one of the things that I've learned at this point in my career, so I'm like about 7 years into my digital marketing career, is the sales experience that I got in my initial internship. I thought was totally unrelated to marketing. I think we're all kind of taught in college or in different experiences that sales is here, marketing is here, kind of a thing. It's actually not really true, right? Everything flows together. Like if you don't have a good marketing team, you can't really have a good sales team, and you can have a great marketing team, but not a good sales team, and that's not going to work, right? Yep. So really, it would have been to embrace the sales opportunity to kind of learn more and gain skills in that, because it translates so well to being better at marketing to help both teams obviously achieve their goals. So outside of a cliche, always be curious, I would say that was my biggest thing is how much those two different, kind of jobs play together.
Yeah. If I recall correctly, you were slinging some direct TV at the local Costco, I think. Am I remembering correctly?
Not Costco, Menards, but yes, you're correct otherwise.
This is our local satellite retailer salesman here.
Hey, I did pretty well too.
Like my first marketing experience was at Sterling Commerce Group, and we sold Dish Network. So we were competitors.
Right? Yeah, I know. We were going toe to toe there.
Beating each other up.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's so true. I did sales for several years, selling cell phones at Sprint. And some of the things that I didn't know would be related to this career in marketing were really about, it's kind of similar to what we're going to talk about today, which is choosing platforms, which is understanding your audience. The thing that I figured out really quickly was when I sold cell phones, that was back in the early 2000s. And I had to figure out, were you an early adopter, or did you just need a cell phone when you walked through the store or walked in the door of the store? Because if you were not an early adopter of technology and I walked you over to the new smartphone, I think I was selling the Palm Pilot and the BlackBerry, like those were the big things there. But if I took someone who was a neophyte over to those, they weren't buying a phone that day. What they wanted to do is go over to the flip phone. And like maybe they could deal with the Razor or the whatever the Sidekick thing was, where you get the whole keyboard. Maybe they could deal with that, but it was all about understanding the audience, like asking them questions that increased my sales. That definitely relates to what we're going to talk to today, because it's very relatable. So choosing platforms. So what do you have to tell us about this? Like, so where should we start thinking about how do we choose platforms that we're going to be on? There is tons of them. There's a lot of places to buy media. The big ones, obviously, Google. Facebook's another huge one. Where should I be? How should I think about this when I'm starting?
Yeah. So, just kind of kick it off. I feel like a lot of businesses, when they're first kind of starting to look at, adopting digital marketing strategy and stuff like that, they'll often go, okay, what are my competitors doing? Or, hey, I've heard Facebook is somewhere we might want to advertise and things like that. Obviously, that's not the best way to do this. You don't want to just kind of go into a platform kind of willy-nilly. You want to have a reason to get on there. And usually the way that we approach it here at RocketClicks is we want to base it off the audience that you're going after. So we can compare this to the 5 stages of awareness. So let's say you're a more mature business and you're trying to really build up your upper funnel.
Yeah, before we go into that, what are the stages of awareness?
So the 5 stages is unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and then most aware.
Nice. Okay, cool. And then can you give a brief definition of each of those?
Yep. So unaware is basically that they have no idea that they need this. So think like, when you're going to your day to day life, right? Like we deal with, either issues or problems and stuff like that, but maybe we don't really realize that's become a problem. We're just kind of dealing with it. So that's where somebody where it's like they're actually probably a good fit for, potentially, working with a business for a service or getting a new product, but they just haven't really clicked yet that it's something that they need, So think like it's like when you see an ad and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, yeah, I hate, doing this or whatever. My hose always messes up and there's a cool new hose that came out or something, right? It's those types of moments where it's like, man, I never really thought about it. Problem aware would be then, kind of the second level to that would be then like you are aware that, the hose that you have at home is always leaking and is inefficient or whatever, that type of deal. So you're aware that the problem exists, but you're not to the point yet to where you're actively looking at, replacing that or what alternatives exist out there. Solution aware then is the next level down. So then you are, obviously aware of the problem. You're now aware of solutions. Really, what you're looking at this point is trying to figure out like what potential alternatives exist out there. So that's more so weighing. So now you're to the point where it's like, okay, I know I need to replace this. What companies provide this and what other options to replace it are out there? Product aware then again is kind of the next level down. It's, you're not really necessarily convinced at this point. You're usually down to probably like 1 to 2 options. You're really in a more consideration phase. Like you're pretty close to buying at this point. Most aware then is like, basically you're moving forward with the product that you're going to buy today. Again, dwindling down your kind of, evaluation of different products or services to meet your problem, and ready to make a purchase decision, basically now.
Got it. Got it. So how does that relate to then selecting platforms? So we got our 5 stages of awareness, and how does understanding that in relation to our product and our potential customer help us choose what platforms we should go to and when?
Yeah, exactly. So every platform is going to kind of play into these different stages a little bit more effectively. Let's put it. So if I kind of start at unaware, if we're looking to really prospect to net new people, right? They've never heard of our business. They may not be aware that our service or product will solve a potential problem that they have. Going after platforms like programmatic, so using a DSP, that's usually consisting of display ads, native ads, CTV, OTT, those types of ad placements or social are going to be best there. So, right. So you're disrupting people's kind of everyday flow. So going back to my, example previously, like when people kind of go from unaware to potentially problem aware and solution aware, sometimes they'll just see an ad on TV, for example, and go, oh yeah, that's right. I never really thought about the fact that I've been really disappointed with this current service or product that I'm currently using. Mm-hmm. So usually the more upper funnel you are in that kind of series of 5 awareness stages, the more social and programmatic type platforms are going to be your best bet.
Nice.
Yeah. So then as you kind of work down from there, problem aware, solution aware, and product aware, it's all going to kind of fall in a combination between both using some of those more higher funnel tactics like social programmatic, but then also starting to layer in more search. So obviously, as you go from problem aware to potentially solution aware and product aware, people are going to be actually seeking out this information online. So one of the best ways to capture that intent is through search ads. So that can be a really effective way to start to really directly get ads in front of people that are most likely going through the phases of either research, consideration to I'm buying right now, to make sure that you get your ads in front of them. So really an effective strategy is using a combination of this, but depending on where you're at as a business, it might make more sense to, if you don't have a humongous budget, maybe you want to really just capitalize on the search that, the search volume that already exists for people in a buy stage for your product or service. Or maybe if you have a more mature model and you can really focus on more of the upper funnel stuff, which is kind of a more of a long-term play, right? You have to get them all the way down. You're probably playing more in that of kind of prospecting to net new folks out there.
Got it. So, so in your example, I guess if we could use an example of a client that we work with generally, actually. So one of the clients we work with is they do stretching, and most men our age, more towards me, but you're getting there. So like,
Thank you. Yeah, little
don't,
by little.
don't worry that you're, only a couple of years behind me. But generally, men don't stretch. Like I've worked out my whole life. I stopped stretching once I got out of college sports because no one forced me to do it anymore, and I've
Right.
gotten very stiff. So my wife makes fun of me all the time. We were in, I think, literally this last weekend. I forget where we were driving, but I turned around to look at my daughter behind me, and I had to really turn all of the way because I couldn't turn my neck all the way because it's stiff, and I don't keep myself stretched. Um, I didn't realize that one of the potential solutions that I could have, other than just stretching and doing the thing that I hate to do, and I'm probably not going to do because I really don't like doing it, is going to one of these stretch places. And then once I understood that, then I started doing research. I started searching for who's in this space, what are the different competitors that are providing the solution. Some are massage therapists, some are very specific, like one of the clients we work with, that they are just stretching. And then there's PTs that do this as well, that are kind of more on the advanced end, where you kind of get into the medical treatment portion. And then you can go in, all right, now I know my options locally. Now let me start comparing them, going through that. And then finally I went to Stretch Zone in Delafield and actually got stretched finally. And it was a good experience, but I didn't enjoy it that much because it hurt, but I actually felt really better after. So you're one of those, the pain is worth it after type scenarios. And that's actually helped. It's one of those scenarios as you kind of go down, you hear of an idea, you see something, and then you kind of explore it, and you might go to search, and then you understand your options, and then maybe you go to Reddit and you do a lot of research on those brands, and then you keep going down that funnel of awareness before you actually make a decision.
Yep.
What are some of the ways that the ads will manifest into reality? So when we're way up on top, you said these are what is CTV, OTT? What does that mean? Where are these placed? I think one of the previous podcasts we talked about, I think you said native ads and different things. So what are some examples of these? Where they'll be placed, and then kind of what are the next types of assets that we'll see?
Yeah, so starting with connected TV, CTV. So the main way that you get ads placed there is generally a 15-second or 30-second video ad. So generally speaking, that's going to be in your traditional wide format for TV screens. That can be shown on some potentially, cable networks and things like that. But generally what we're looking at are those on-demand type platforms. So think Hulu, Peacock, Paramount Plus, those types of apps that exist.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, when we say connected TV, it's got TV in the name. You're going to get on placement specifically on television screens. So usually from the top set box or through apps in the TV itself. From there, OTT is going to kind of expand your video ad placement opportunity. You can potentially still be shown on a TV per se, but generally when we talk about OTT, we're talking about mobile devices, desktop, tablet. So similarly, you can still get ad placement on some of those apps through OTT as well, but it may expand to some other areas as well, including on websites and things like that have video embedded onto their site. You could have video then play in front of that. That would also fall in the OTT kind of strategy and placement opportunity there.
So if we're way up funnel, what type of messaging are we typically trying to send out into the world?
Yeah, so obviously, if you're in the unaware, kind of bucket in terms of your audience targeting one of these platforms, obviously making sure you have your brand very visible. You always want a hook and an offer in there are going to be really critical to getting your message across. I think a lot of times where we see, brands that we work with that maybe have challenges with seeing the effectiveness in some of their CTV or OTT strategy, a lot of times it's because the creative side of that doesn't have those three elements. So going in here really intentionally to have a good offer for somebody who's unaware, right? So for the stretch client that we have, one of their big offers is you can come in and get a free stretch. So that's really great for somebody who's unaware because they're sitting on their couch and they're like, man, I'm like Tony here, and I haven't really thought about it, but I have been turning weird lately, and I'm feeling stiff. I'm getting older. Boom, free stretch, right? So that's a really good offer. Whereas if they just came in and said, this is what we do, this is our brand, that may not compel somebody, especially upper funnel. It may resonate better with somebody who's in the consideration phase because now they've kind of gone through the research. They understand that a stretch type business might help their problem that they're dealing with. So that's kind of where we want to look at it. It's really critical for people that are really net new to your either service, product, or brand to have some type of compelling hook and offer to get them obviously engaging with your brand later in other areas of the funnel.
Nice. So as we're moving down, how do these assets in the digital landscape, how do they change from kind of what you described in CTV and OTT, and then how do they continue down? Like, what do these continue to look like?
Yeah, so one of our kind of most successful strategies generally is like if we kind of start at the top is like I said. So we have some type of hook and offer out there, gets them in the door, gets them starting to get the gears moving in terms of I'm basically experiencing this problem. This service provider exists out there, ultimately getting them to get to the site in one way or the other. Obviously, CTV and OTT can be a little bit more difficult, but you can use systems like GA4 or other tools to kind of build that attribution to see folks hopefully getting to the site and interacting with your brand then online. You would then get them through, obviously, the conversion funnel through a kind of standard landing page or something like to that effect. From there, you can then kind of go backwards once again, and now you're going to actually hit those people again through some tactics like display, native social, potentially another CTV ad, again, more potentially branded, focused, opposed to that original offer to keep them engaged as they go through the sales pipeline. So for somebody with the stretch, right, they sign up for the free stretch. We want to make sure that they actually go to that free stretch, right? Just because they gave us all their information doesn't mean necessarily they're going to show up. So we can deploy different areas of those tactics that obviously are specific to different audiences to kind of repurpose them to keep folks engaged as they move through the funnel.
Got it. Awesome. Cool. Any other tips for success here? I guess another like this, as we've been talking through the different conversations we've been having on our podcasts, how do we measure success here? Because I know this is something that we have to educate clients on quite often because we're looking for, a lot of times clients are looking for, I have a CTV ad, how many sales did I get from that CTV ad? So
right.
Talk a little bit about how we think about measurement and how we coach our clients through this, because it looks a little different than that. For
sure. Yeah. If you are measuring your CTV ad sales, you're probably not going to be running CTV ads much longer. That's the reality, because it's incredibly hard to measure directly. Of course, there's some attribution modeling and tools that are out there that can help you get directional evidence that obviously it's influencing people. The best way to measure it, though, is through the waterfall reporting that we've talked about a bunch in our previous podcasts. So really, when you have these marketing platforms and tactics out there, are we seeing more users to the site? Are we seeing more leads during these time period? Are we seeing the quality of lead improving? Are we, if it's a specific offer that's maybe a promo code or something like that that's measurable, are we seeing people actually take advantage of that and signing up for that offer? So really going back to the business KPIs is going to be critical to it, or you're going to turn things off. And ultimately, the reality is that when you look at a good, successful marketing holistic strategy, it does have all these different tactics. It's not, oh, we'll just do CTV or we'll just do paid search. The best businesses out there do all of this stuff. And that's just kind of the reality that can be most visible when you do measure it by using your marketing or your business KPIs in your waterfall reporting.
Awesome. Anything else before we wrap up today? Appreciate it. This is a lot of great stuff, James.
Yeah, no, I would say the biggest thing is, like I said, don't jump into it willy-nilly. I know it's can be attractive to do that or whatever. You just want to get the show moving, so to speak. But the reality is you should be really intent to your audiences, and then being really careful too about the creative that you have out there. If you're just throwing what you have from 2 years ago and you used it for this random YouTube campaign you did, sure, it can go out there, but I'm telling you, it's probably not going to be as successful if you get really intentional and come up with compelling offers or compelling messages to match with the different audiences that you're going after. So be intentional, think it through, and you're going to have more success that way.
Awesome. Appreciate it, James. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks.